Started.
Okay.
So Naimisha, thanks so much for joining us. Hi everyone, welcome to today's edition of the Build for Her Forum. Today we are joined by Naimisha Rao, who will take us through her journey of building Gullak and the lessons and learnings that she's learned along the way. I'll just quickly go over the house rules and then over to you, Nimisha. Nimisha will speak for about 20 minutes, following which we'll open the floor for questions. If anyone has questions, you can park your questions in the chat window or you can raise your hand and we'll point out to you. With that, over to you, Nimisha.
Hi. Congratulations on completing a year first thing, guys. I've watched a couple of things that you do and very helpful. So yeah, I'll start off. I have a presentation. The way I'll do this is probably take some time in the beginning to talk about Gullak and what we do at Gullak, what is Gullak. And then next I will zoom into the India's gold consumption space and the role of women. And then third segment will be a little about the challenges we are facing and how have we tried to solve a few of them. And then there are a few which are still unsolved. We can discuss those as well. Yeah, so I'll pull up the deck. Are you able to see my screen? Uh, Something.
Yes.
Sorry, give me a second. Is this clear for everyone? Yeah. Okay. So we are Gullak. We're building Gullak, which is India's full stack gold app. What we essentially do is make gold accumulation extremely easy, right? To start off with, to give you context, India loves gold. We in fact the largest consumer of gold. We have 200 lakh crore worth gold in our households. And the gold reserves that our Indian households have actually beat the top 10 world's top 10 reserves, right? That's the amount of gold that Indian households have. In 8 lakh crore worth gold was bought just last year, out of which 1.6 lakh crore worth gold coins were bought last year. And this is the second largest household asset, which is 4x more than equity, right? That's how much we Indians love gold. It's very deeply rooted in our culture and tradition as well. And in fact, it ages back, it dates back to the time where kings and rulers were there, where Chanakya would have said that everyone should have gold, at least 25-30%, even the kings, because when you have to leave your kingdom, you will leave everything, but the gold is something you can walk with, right? And over the years, it's transformed into family traditions and culture, etc. And that's where the gold, love for gold comes, right? And I think while we love gold and while our consumption for gold has been increasing, while our love for gold has been increasing, we noticed that the ecosystem, the gold ecosystem, hasn't transformed the way other ecosystems have transformed, right? And that's why we say in 2020s, we still save like 1980s. What do I mean by this? And when I'm talking about this, for the sake of clarity, maybe just imagine a parent who's saving for a child's wedding, just so you can understand what I'm talking about. That's more like our persona. Even when I talk about gold or the jewelry space, 50% of it is bought for wedding purposes. So that's a persona, that's something it's easy to then understand what I'm talking about. Not a lot of us can relate. My average age of a user is around 32, and they're typically married and they're already thinking about what for the kid and the future of the kid, right? So you'll have to keep that persona in mind when you're thinking. So the process today, right? What happens is I, as a mother or a father, maybe have to remember to save certain amount every month, right? And this requires a lot of discipline because I have to remember to save it and keep it aside and not use it for anything else. Once it hits a certain amount, let's say it's hit a 9,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees or a 90,000 for someone who wants to take 10 grams, right? I then go to the jewelry store to buy a gold coin or a bar. I need to take time out to go to the store. After that, I now have to worry about safely storing it in a bank. This process is very manual. And this requires a lot of discipline. It's offline and unstructured, right? Discipline is something which is bound to fail in most cases. So discipline fails, goals get missed, and the fact that goals are getting missed, stress gets piled up, right? That's where Gullak steps in, right? We make the accumulation piece extremely easy, right? From your saving to delivering the coin to jewelry. The first step is SIP, where you can start with a daily SIP of 100 or a weekly SIP or monthly SIP. And every day, let's say 100 is your SIP, 100 worth gold is bought, and you keep saving like this. If you want, you can also do top ups, right? A lot of users have said that when the gold price goes down, I want to do a top up as well. I want to buy more on Akshaya Tritiya or Dhanteras, I want to buy more. You can do that as well, right? One, if you wish to, you can also get a gold coin delivered to your house, right? Once you've hit a certain amount, let's say you finish 1 gram or 10 gram or 5 gram, you can get the gold coin delivered to your house as well. The third piece, which is more a latest piece, which is redeem at jewelers. You can use your gold balance. Let's say I've saved 50 grams on Gullak. I can go to a Tanishq or a CaratLane or any of the large jewelers in India, right? And I want to buy a jewelry piece worth 10 grams. I can actually not, I don't have to pay or I don't have to use my card. I can say, hey, I have 50 grams on my Gullak. 10 ग्राम का ज्वेलरी मेरे को खरीदना है, right? So it's just a balance transfer that happens. Now, this is the piece where we've made saving for gold, buying gold, storing gold extremely easy and fully digital, right? The next part for us became that great, we've solved buying, selling, storing, etc., right? But now we said, what can we unlock the potential of gold beyond these transactions? Now, for that, maybe some background, right? Like I said, India has the largest gold reserves. There's 25,000 tons of gold with Indian households. One of the largest or the largest, right? We are also the largest importer of gold in the world, right? And when you import a lot of gold, what happens is fiscal deficit increases, right? For the economy, it's not a great thing that you're importing so much. And the government has tried to do a lot of things to solve this by doing SGB, GMS, etc. That's why we said, what can we do? There's a lot of gold lying idle, yet we're importing. Is there a way that this ideal gold can come out of the lockers and be used? And this is where our gold leasing piece comes in, where we say, let's say you have gold lying idle in your house. Let's say you have 10 grams of gold coin lying idle in your house. You can actually lease it out to a jeweler. A jeweler needs gold for working capital, right? And because they're using your gold, they have to give you interest as well. This is where the leasing piece comes in. So it's a win-win, right? For the jeweler and the user and for the economy. The jeweler now doesn't have to buy new gold because he's using your gold as working capital. So automatically we are saying the imports get reduced. The user, instead of it lying idle in their houses, the gold is actually growing. What do we mean by gold growing? For example, we give extra 4% or 5% in interest. So if you put in 100 grams of gold, extra 5% means 100 grams becomes 105 grams of gold in year one. Leave it like that for 8 years, 100 grams is becoming 148 grams. So you're getting 48 grams
One
of
minute.
gold, right?
I'm on a call. What do you need, Kana?
Yeah. So 100 grams is actually becoming 148 grams, right? And this is where we say that, for example, if my mom had to save gold for my wedding, let's say she had to do some for the sake of, let's say she had to do 500 grams for my wedding. She had to pay for all the 500 grams, right? Today, when I have to do it for my children, I don't have to pay for all the 500 grams. I can pay for 250 grams. Other 250 grams I'm getting is free because of the gold leasing program. And overall, the gold is circulating in the economy, right? So this is the unlock that we are saying. We found that go beyond buying, selling, storing. How do we add value to the economy, user, and shift the gold ecosystem? So this is why we are saying we are the middleware of the entire $100 billion gold market. There's a lot of or fair bit of innovation that's happened in the gold jewelry piece, which is the second layer that you're seeing here. There are enough jewelers, enough designs, there's some innovation happened there. The loan piece also, there's innovation that's happening there, there's Muthoot, etc. It can be made better, but there's some piece of work that's happening. You will not say it's been the same. It has transformed year over year, right? But the accumulation piece, no one solved. And why is it important? I don't think any of us would just go, most Indians, right? Do not just go swipe their card when they have to buy the jewelry. You have to save for it over the years and only then you can. Even for a wedding, in the South, it's almost like 800 grams, 500 grams is like the norm, right? You can't just do that overnight, right? So when you're how do you really solve and say we make the 500, 800 grams of accumulation extremely stress-free and joyful a process? is where we step in, right? So that's where Gullak sits on top of all layers, where we are saying making accumulation extremely easy. So this is about Gullak, and the way we envision gold is how all of us have cash balances on our phone, right? In your banks, etc. We think there'll be a gold balance on the phone of every Indian. So that's how we envision Gullak to be growing into, right? Traction wise, quick one slide. We are the fastest growing digi gold company. On Dhanteras, we did 15 crores on that day. And the next player, which are fairly names that you would have heard of, would have done 5 crores, right? So that's how big we are versus the others. We're the fastest growing digi gold company. We've clocked 137 crores in gold sales and quarterly investments. We have 80K users. We sit on a 400 crore AUM. Our users save 7,000 every month. Now, this is about Gullak. The next, I will now zoom into the India's gold consumption space and the women's role in it, right? The way India consumes gold is 75% is jewelry, 15% is coins and bars. There's 10% which is digigold, which includes players like Gullak. It includes ETF, it includes SGB. Now, 75% and 15%, which you're seeing as the jewelry and coins bar space, the user share, the women's share in this is 75% buyers are women, right? Come to digital gold, there's only 25% which is women, right? Now let's zoom into why is it important to do digi gold and why is there a lag in this? Why is it 75 on one side and 25 on one side when the underlying asset is still gold, right? The need to shift, we saw one part which was user has to accumulate, think of discipline, put cash aside, stash it, go to the jeweler, then worry about safely storing it. Now this piece anchors on two things, right? Willpower and time, which I think most Indian women juggling between their homes and dreams do not have in surplus, right? And this is fully anchored on willpower and time, bound to fade or at least put a lot of stress on the women of India, right? The second is a lot of women also, when they think of their child's wedding, do saving schemes. Most of us would have heard of these saving schemes like 11 plus 1 that you find in jewelers, where you save 5,000 every month for 11 months. The 12th month, the jeweler gives you that 5,000, right? So they start these saving schemes with jewelers. Now, the problem when they start the saving schemes is they come to us and say, there are months where I can't do 5,000. Right? A lot of them don't have fixed income. So they say, I want to do 2,000 this month, but the scheme does not allow me to do it. Or there are months where it's Akshaya Tritiya or the gold price is low. I want to do more, but the scheme doesn't allow them to do it. So one problem they have with the schemes is it lacks flexibility. The second you go to the jeweler on the 12th month when you finish the scheme, you have to buy jewelry. Whether your daughter is 2 years old today and you don't need that jewelry or not, doesn't matter. You might need it when she turns 25 for her wedding or when he turns 25. But that doesn't matter. You have to buy the jewelry today and you have to pay those making charges for that jewelry. And most likely, when your kid turns 25, you're going to exchange that jewelry because the same design does not work at that time, right? So you're paying making charge twice, right? And then you again have to safely store this in a locker and your jewelry is sitting idle. Why not just leave it and make more gold out of it, right? And take bars and coins and later convert to jewelry when you will know that this design makes sense now. So the current ways that exist in the market are not helping users reach their goals easily, and users are mostly women. Because when we spoke of jewelry and coins, that's mostly women, right? But those ways are inefficient today. Discipline is difficult. Making charges right now are unnecessary. The jewelry is lying idle in your locker. The jewelry designs are changing so often, the exchange becomes expensive. The inconvenience of going to the store also adds to this entire piece, right? Now, while we've established that it's important that they all shift, that it can't be 75% on one side and 25% on this side. When this side is better, I would have expected that this side also has 75%, right? The entire women population should shift here. Now, what are the challenges we faced? And that didn't happen for us, right? And what are the challenges we faced, right? What is stopping women from shifting? Before I go into that, I think it's also important to understand how women see wealth, right? The core difference is women see wealth as a means to an end. Men see wealth, most men see wealth as the end. When I say means to an end, women see wealth as what can it do for me? Can it fund my child's education? Can it fund my child's marriage? Can I buy gold which I can gift to my kids later? It's all purpose led, right? For them, the why matters a lot more than the how much. So for them, it's not an abstract number or a scorecard. It is what can this do for me or for my loved ones, right? In fact, there's a very nice study that University of Pennsylvania had done, how the neurological wiring is also different, right? It could be conditioning, it could be whatever. But today, when uh, women are, let's say there were women who were exposed to investment in men, questions related to investment or choices to investment. In women, the emotional decision making areas of the brain get activated. Those regions get activated, which is the amygdala and MPFC, right? Which is emotional decision making or purpose led, or this also includes risk in it. The fact that amygdala is getting activated also says that there's fear and risk as well. But for them, it's very emotional decision making that's getting activated. For men, on the other side, there's a region which gets activated, which is reward seeking region. For them, it is returns. Or when they talk to friends, it's like, I made this much, how much did you make? In fact, I was doing this research where I was talking to a lot of women, right? And I spent probably 2 hours on each women interview. I met them for coffee, not over calls, right? And that's where most of my insights have come. And very hidden, small insights, right? Where it's, I remember a girl who told me that in my office, I have a lunch group and it comprises mostly of men. And I'm sure they talk about things like, what will you do if you have 1 crore? Where will you invest it? And she said, I hate that group now. In fact, all our conversations were around that. That's so transactional. What is with these numbers and competition of whether I'm making more or you're making more returns? I changed my lunch group. Now I sit with more girls, and today we talk about how are you feeling, what did you eat, what are you doing over the weekend, and how are you going to fund some, say, education or higher education for yourself, right? She's like, it's very different. And that's where I think it's again coming back to women care about the why more than the how much. For them, it's a means to an end than the end. And that's when we said Digi Gold, let it be an SGB ETF, they talk about returns. But jewelry doesn't talk like that, right? Coins don't talk like that. But digital gold talks about returns. We started the same way. And that's where I think we failed in attracting the women, right? We were very returns focused. Gullak was saying, ab 11 nahi 16, you get 16% returns, you get extra 5% gold, you get extra 4% gold. This is better than SGB. There is market volatility. You should now invest in gold. Diversification is important. None of this clicked with women. Because again, I think we were also wrong in anchoring on the how much more than the why. Now we've shifted our approach where we are saying that it's important to stitch it to goals, right? Today we talk about wedding goals, accumulate gold for your kid's wedding. This screen here is, let's say, you have a daughter or a son, right? For a daughter, you want a mang tika necklace set bangles. You select what all do you want, and you get a lot of, like, users love it when this is still in beta, but they like it when they do this and they're like, maza aa raha hai ye karke. I can imagine how my daughter will look in each of this, or how my son will look in this necklace, right? So then we say, for this, you might need 250 grams or 500 grams. For 500 grams, let's say you need it in 20 years, you have to save 10,000 per month. So this clicks with them more than when we say, Aaj 10,000 will become 1 crore later, or you'll get 16% returns, or this beats mutual fund, doesn't click as much with them, right? They're not wired to think that way. Same happens with, say, Nani Muskan was for your child's future, save for your child's future, right? Invest 15,000 per month for 6 years, relax for 12 years. On their 18th birthday, you get 1 CR. In fact, just a difference in how the team operates also, right? The discussion was around Nani Muskan. Most of the group comprised of men. And I remember my first feedback on this screen was, yeah, 1 crore is great, but can you tell me if this 1 crore will take care of their education? Right? Tick off some goal for me. I don't know what 1 crore is. I don't know what this abstract number is. And that's how most of my women, or the research I've done, is also all around. They care about what can this do. Right? And that's missing in the industry today, right? Whenever we talk about investments, that's missing in the industry. In fact, now I start to wonder that when we started off Gullak, there was a lot of chatter around goals don't work. Like in the industry, it's like goal-based investments don't work. Right? Now I think that it was very skewed towards men. I think for women, a goal-based investment or saving might work because they're wired to be that way. And what we end up missing in this entire thing is we've not even conducted research on women, right? We would have just launched that product of Gullaks and we would have seen no one's adopting it, or goals and no one's adopting it, and we chuck it and we make it an industry norm saying goals don't work. But we missed an important piece here, that women think differently, right? So that's one challenge that I think we had to tackle and cross. That's a problem, and more than a challenge or a problem, that's the mistake we were doing, and we solved it this way. The second, I think we would have heard in a lot of investment apps, all of you would have also heard, where the news is more about women save more than men, right? On the same mutual fund app or on Gullak, women save more than men. Now, why does this happen? Because women are time starved. They don't want to do 10 different platforms. They've put some time on research. They're like, now that I've researched it, I trust this app. I'm going to do this app only. I don't need 10 apps. I am going to only look at 3 assets and do it. And hence, they have higher savings and retention. Now, what's the con for platforms like us? Is because they're time starved and because they have high stickiness and because they don't have time to do the research, breaking their existing habit is extremely difficult. For me to shift them from jewelers to Gullak is extremely difficult. And that's when I noticed that for men, when I have to move them from an existing solution to a new solution in my ad comms, I only need to talk about the benefits of my solution, right? And they shift. For women, I have to talk about the problems with their existing solution, and I need to make those problems really big. And only then they're even open to hearing about the benefits in my solution, which we would have missed a lot of times in the beginning, right? Which we've corrected over time. We didn't think, we were like, yeah, benefits itne obvious hai that why won't you shift? Right? But for them, it is about what is the problem with my current, because I don't have time to do the research again. So just tell me what is the problem with my current solution. I think everything's going fine. I don't have to shift. So it's important that we talk to them about the problems with their existing solutions and make them realize that. Right. So the next piece became time starved, right? Where time starved, which means stickiness is high, which means shifting them from their existing habits is difficult. Now, how do you tackle that? Right. The third piece, I think we've all heard that women are more, the risk appetite is low for multiple reasons. I think the income is lower, so we're more careful with money. Our brains are wired that way, our hormones are wired that way. The last piece is also that I think because when you're thinking about long-term goals or for your loved ones, you don't want to gamble with others' lives, right? When you're thinking about their children. So that's when we realized that today our flow earlier was about DigiGold and leasing the digital gold. But the gold stayed in our app, right? While we said it's insured, 100% insured, it's in the locker, but it's all insured. I think for women, it was important that they see the gold and they feel the gold and the tangible aspect of it, which we missed in the beginning. And then we introduced a flow which just said, forget 16%, forget leasing, forget everything else. What the flow says is choose the gold coin that you want to save for. Let's say 1 gram. For that 1 gram, you want to save 100 per day. And if you do 100 per day, in 85 days, I am actually going to deliver this gold coin to your house. Right? The moment they see the gold coin in their hand once, after that, they're okay, even if I don't deliver the coin over and again, but they need this to happen at least once. So they start trusting me more, right? So this is a flow that we had done. In fact, for a lot of women, we start them with this flow itself. We don't show other flow, right? When they come via these ads, we show them only this flow. We say, once let the coin get delivered, then we will upsell other things to them. But let's start with only this. And very similar is where we said large jewelers is also important, where we said, let's add all the large jewelers because they're used to seeing bigger jewelers and that's where they get a lot of trust from. So you can also redeem your gold savings at large jewelers. They would have all tried it once. Like these are women who would go just on their anniversary or some birthdays. They would have taken a small piece and gotten more confidence on the platform. And then they start saving a lot more than before. So I think this is the summary. That's all I have on slides. That for me, the interesting part is while 75% women consume jewelry and coins, why is it only 25% on digital? Then I realized on digital, I think we were trying to be very different from what is happening in the existing world. And the barriers became, we were all focusing on the how much. We did not think of the time-starved nature of women, or we did not think of low risk appetite, right? In marketing, in fact, we say this in brand and marketing that either you go where the users are, where the world is, or you bring the world to where you want them to be. But I think in our case, we were bringing the world to where we want them to be very quickly. We should have first done this and then graduated to this piece slowly, right? I think that's what we've realized over time, that it's important to solve all of this for women. Yeah. So that's all I have. I'm happy to take questions if any.
Excellent, Nimisha. This was very, very interesting. I'm expecting some questions from the house. If there are folks with questions, comments, please raise your hands. Nimisha, you have a question? Please come in.
Hi, Naimisha. Did
Hi,
I
Misha.
pronounce your name right?
Hi, Misha.
Naimisha?
Yes, yes, yes.
Hi, thank you so much for your talk. Really great talk, great insights. I think two questions. Firstly, my name is Misha I'm from Dwara Research. Dwara Research is a policy think tank focused on financial inclusion and social protection. And I have two questions. One, I didn't quite understand the leasing part that you were talking about, because you said that the gold that is idle at home can be given to the jeweler. So does that mean that that gold will then be broken down and the gold in its jewelry form will no longer be in that form that the customer had? Is that correct?
So I'll tell you what it is, Misha. So today the way we do gold leasing is, let's say Misha saves 10 grams on Gullak, right? When I say 10 grams on Gullak, you've done digital gold on Gullak, right? This is not the gold that's lying idle in your house at this point in time. It's the digital gold that you've done, which I have stored in some locker as bars or coins. Now I move this gold to the jeweler, the first piece, right? In the future, we are planning to do what you're now saying, which is physical gold leasing, right? But even in which is what you already have. Today, what we do is digital gold leasing. That digital gold on Gullak, we lease it forward. In the future, we will do physical gold leasing. In fact, the government's tried to do something like this, which is gold monetization scheme, GMS, right? So we also plan to do that, but in partnership with banks, right? Now, in the GMS piece, most likely in the beginning, we'll start with coins and bars that are in your house, bring that out. Because when we were doing our research, we also understood that melting of your jewelry is not something people are ready to do, even if they're not using it. So that's a piece that we are yet to tackle, that how do we tackle that piece and then convince them to do it. So first we'll start off with coins and bars and then move towards this.
Understood. So it is digital gold.
Yes.
So you were talking about how it can finance the working capital needs
Yes.
of the jeweler. So you were talking about basically that acting as loans for the jewelers. So the point that I didn't understand is that you were also connecting it to reducing the imports. How will that reduce the imports? Because here my understanding is that it's money that's going to the jewelers and not
Gold.
actual gold.
No, it's
It's actual gold.
Yes, yes.
Actually,
We actually ship the gold bars to the jeweler.
understood, understood. And the second question is, what kinds of compliances and licenses does Gullak need to have and follow?
So today, let's break this piece, right? Digi gold and the gold leasing piece. When I say digi gold, it's actually physical gold stored in our lockers instead of your lockers. When I say our lockers, now buying gold is, for example, even if you go to a Tanishq or you go to a GRT, buying gold is buying gold, right? That's commerce. That in fact doesn't have any regulation, right? Buying it. So the commerce piece will not see any regulations or compliances, right? But what needs regulation or what needs compliance is the storage, that where you're storing it, are you really storing it? Is it safe, etc., right? The way we do it today is it's stored in lockers. These are SQL vaults, right? And these vaults are SEBI approved. And these vaults are, there quarterly audits that happen on these vaults. There's 100% insurance that's taken against this gold as well. So that's how there is CCTV surveillance, etc., right? So that's where we ensure that the gold is actually stored and it is fully insured, right? So this part's done. The leasing piece is fully legal. The way we ensure safety is when we lease it out to a jeweler, we take 100% collateral from the jeweler. Say Misha's 10 gram has gone to the jeweler, we take collateral worth 10 grams from the jeweler in case of defaults. But even before that, the way we check jewelers is we only work with very large jewelers. We evaluate their credit worthiness. We do a lot of that along with Augmont, who's our gold partner. In fact, they do that for us, right? We are more like a tech layer. So that's how we ensure safety. So there are SROs in the DigiGold space. There's a lot of compliance and rules that have been established, but it's not regulated yet. If your question is on regulation, it's not regulated yet. I think there's progress that's happening. We are working with RBI. In fact, for the regulation piece, we're working together on how do we regulate it, because we want it to be regulated. We've been pro-regulation from day one. Even when KYC was not needed, we take KYC. When you get this interest in gold leasing, we actually deduct TDS at the source and we file all of this. Yeah.
So there's no deposit taking license that is required. because the purchase is of gold, which is then being stored in the vaults.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay. And I think you spoke a little bit about this, but do you also face barriers in terms of, building trust, given that I'm assuming there's no brick and mortar branches in various cities or towns, etc. So how does Gullak go about building trust amongst customers?
I think the way to build trust for us is first, can you borrow trust? And then can you build trust, right? When I say borrow trust, there are already players you trust, right? You trust a Tanishq. So when I put a Tanishq as a partner on my app, you automatically trust my app as well. We have an ICICI Lombard insurance, right, of what is stored in the vaults, right? So we put that out upfront, right? So there are a lot of these borrowed trust elements that we put out. And I think that's one piece that helps in trust, and the fact that there's 100% collateral, etc. All of these pieces add up to trust. We've also tried some celebrities and stuff. Can we borrow trust from there? Where we show our ads or where we brand also matters. That are we in places that people trust? For example, a cred is something you might trust, right? So we're present there, but not present on other platforms that you don't trust. So today it's a lot of borrowed trust that we're working on, Mission. And eventually we'll build the brand, we'll build the community, we'll become a bigger brand, we'll become a household name where we will start forming our own trust chains.
That's a great framework, actually, borrowing trust. And I did notice that in your screenshots, which automatically, made me think that, okay, it's a familiar name, so I can go with that. And my final question is, what is the distribution model in terms of how do customers come to know about Gullak, and how do they, how is marketing and branding done?
Sure. So 50% of it is word of mouth, Nisha. There's organic and referral. There's a lot of word of mouth that we benefit from. So it's very organic led. I think thanks to the value that we are adding, this is happening. The other 10% is via some partnerships, like what I'm talking about from say Cred or Swiggy's or checks and one cards and other players, right? Where it's more partnership models. We're also trying to work with agents and jewelers. The other bit is from paid media, which is Facebook's and Google's.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the house? Shilpa has a question. Shilpa, do you want to voice out your question?
What's the core revenue model? Okay. The core revenue model is we make an upfront commission that's around 2%, 2.25% on every gold purchase that happens. Augmont paces this. Augmont is our gold partner, which is the gold refinery. We're only a tech layer, right? So we'll have to understand that all the say the entities or compliance, etc., is more for Augmont. We are more a distributor or tech layer, right? We make around 2% on every gold purchase that happens upfront. This is not from the user. This is from Augmont. Can you elaborate more? How big is our customer base? I think I mentioned that. That's around 80K today. What type of entity are you registered as? Can you tell? I didn't understand this question. Do you mean a private entity, etc.? We are a private limited entity. Can you elaborate more on how to nudge women to migrate from offline to digital models? Yeah, I think what I spoke of, right, Shilpa, there are three things that I was talking about. That the first piece is the offline piece is very purpose-led for them. It's more tangible. It's also talking more wedding, jewelries, etc. So it's more purpose-led for them. We were more returns and an abstract number. So changing that helps. The second bit that I spoke of, that I'll have to tell them what is the problem with their existing model for them to even think of the benefits that I have to offer. The third bit is how do I build more trust? The first two pieces, I would still say we've made significant progress. We've started seeing results. In fact, we've seen a 50% increase in conversion rates in both those products versus our earlier flows, which were very return heavy, right? The last bit is trust. While we are trying to solve it, I don't think we've fully solved that, right? There's the offline model still wins over us when it comes to trust amongst women. So we are slowly solving that on how do we partner with banks? How How do we work with more entities where we can say an RBI or an RBI edge, right? We've spoken to a couple of them. And how do we bring in more regulation and compliance so that women start trusting this more? Do you plan to introduce other precious metals in the future? Gayatri, we already have silver on the platform. We don't aggressively promote it, but we do have silver, platinum, etc. I don't think so. We're thinking of it more as whatever is more wealth generating as well, right? Shilpa's also asked, what's the average age of my consumer base? That's around 32. So one thing we've realized is gold makes a comeback a little later in a person's life. Initially, all of us think we can make a lot of money and we do stocks, we do a lot of other things, but later we understand that gold is a safe asset and we should do it. That the other insight is that when you're planning your family or when you get married or when you start having kids is when you start thinking gold a lot more, right? For example, my co-founder's wife, when she was having a kid, just a year before she would have gone and got gold bars, right? For her, it was already that Shadi ke time, I want to gift her so much and I'm going to plan ahead in time, right? So it's typically parents and average age is 32. Few more messages. How many from metros versus non-metros? So metro and tier 1, I'll combine that and that's around 45%. The rest is all from tier 2s and tier 3s and that's long tail. Like even there there's no big player, right? I have people from Jaipur to Jaunpur, right? So that's very long tail on the non-metro tier 2, tier 3 side. And I think we're still very early in our journey, right? You talk to me a year later, these metrics might change significantly because we're also talking early adopters at this point in time where I'm talking about the 80K users. What's the average time frame of investing on your platform? Nivita, what does that mean? Do you mean how long do they stick with us?
Yeah. So my point was, how long are they engaging with you on a platform? Is it just for one like coin and after that they go off, or they continue, they repeat?
So they're all thinking long term, right? Most
Okay.
of them are thinking long term. And like I said, right, if they're saving 7,000 per month, that's very serious savers. So if
Yeah.
you talk ARPU in dollars, we are at $22 ARPU, which is the top 5% of the fintech industry today, right?
Okay.
We likes of Grow are a little higher as well, right? So yeah, so these guys stick with us. My AUM retention, maybe the way to see that is
Yeah.
AUM retention, right? My
Mm.
income retention is around 75-80%, Nivita. So they stick with
Great.
Yeah.
Got it. And for one, like, I know it's a little off because, people would want different sizes of gold. But what is the average, say, before one transaction is when I say transaction, that one saving is completed, what is like the average timeline? Is it 75 weeks, or 30 weeks, 40 weeks?
Do you mean how long do they take to finish a gram, let's say?
Yeah.
A
Let's put
gram
it
is
that way.
in a month or lesser.
In a month. Got
M1
it.
is higher.
Hmm.
Women save around 35,000 rupees in the first month. For men,
Hmm.
that would be around 25,000, right? In a year,
Okay.
they almost come to 75,000 to 1 lakh range.
Okay. So
Right?
1 month. Got it. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
There are some questions and comments from Pallavi.
Yes, Pallavi is asking, are these housewife mostly? It's a mix, Pallavi. I think I've seen both kinds. So when we were doing research, right, we have 20% women who are direct investors, where I know they're investing from their bank accounts. A lot of these people are working professionals. There's another 15-20% when we did a small sample for research and a representative sample. In this, we saw 15-20% are influenced, the men who are saving are influenced by women. Right. And that's how gold has been. For example, even for my gold, when my mom had wanted to gift gold for me, she decided how much and she was the force behind making that happen. Right. So she's a big influencer. So when it comes to gold, women are not just consumers, but they're big influencers. They are driving the consumption. Right. If my mom would have decided 200 grams, it would have been 200 grams. If she decides 500, it would have been 500. Right. So they define the okay, housewives is a segment that most fintechs are not able to tap. Any collaborations with payment aggregators planned? We've not thought of this yet. As to we want to tap into that segment, how to do it, we've not thought of it. One thing I know is my brand and my comms have to talk to these people as well. Like I said, these are influencers, right? The man in the house is not deciding how many grams need to be done or when it should be done or by when do you need it, right? The women's deciding it. So they're influencers for sure. So I know for sure that my brand needs to speak to them. Are there other ways to do it? We've not thought of that yet. Who are your competitors? Are they the likes of gold ETFs? So when it comes to gold ETF, I think again, right, I'm talking about a gold lover. So think of it as an investor versus a lover, right? Like the way I spoke of women where they're talking about purpose, or for them it is about gold for the wedding or child's wedding or gold for jewelry, is very different from someone who's doing ETF, is thinking about diversification and wealth and returns, right? And ETF talks in NAVs. A lot of my users, when I spoke to them about why did they choose us over ETF, they say they don't understand NAVs. They've learned gold as 1 gram equals 9,000. They don't know what is this NAV, which is 50 rupees, right? So I'm talking about a gold lover here. So ETF is not a competition. As of today, I don't think anyone's really targeting the gold lover audience. There are small players that are coming in, and once we become bigger, I think there'll be more players that will come in. PhonePe, Paytms, etc. do have digital gold on their apps. But I think we believe gold can't be a part of a super app. It's a vertical in itself, right? People needed the whole gold coin feature. People needed wedding schemes. People needed jewelry redemption. We cracked the leasing piece. So gold is a vertical in itself. And that's why Dhanteras, we did a lot more than the others in the industry, right? Yeah. I think Devyani, you've been trying to ask. Yeah.
Naimisha, thanks
Hi.
for this. Very interesting. I was just wondering around the people who do have financial stress and need to liquidate for whatever reason. Typically, how does that work? I think you said, retention is as high as 70-80%.
Yeah.
But when they do need to access that pool,
Yeah.
how do they do it? And I think digital gold can't be lent against, right? But are there moves in that direction that would make it easy to leverage the asset, etc.?
We're trying to work on that piece where you said digital gold can't be lent today. We're trying to see if that's innovation that can happen next. Not focused on it today, but maybe sometime later. Today, we allow them to withdraw as cash, right? It's not just that you can get the coin delivered or you go to the jeweler store. We also allow them to withdraw as cash and it's immediate. Do we have a credit line against it? Not yet. How many of your 80K customers are first-time gold savers? I think very few would be first-time gold savers. From the research, we've seen that majority are people who've bought gold sometime in their life. Because I'm also talking about an age group which is 32, 33, right? So majority of them have also seen it before, or they've at least seen someone in their family do it. So it's not that it's very new to them. Are you also planning to target Gen Z in future? As of that, I'd say no, Gayatri. I've tried doing that and I've failed. I think it's not an asset market fit, right? Like the asset does not fit for that age at this point in time. For them, it's more, they are still thinking returns, right? It's not purpose-led as much. They are still thinking wealth and returns and all of that. And they typically think, and even I've had that journey, right? All of us have had this journey. When we were young, we said 12% return kya hi hota hai, 7% return kya hi hota hai. We'll make 50% returns, right? We would have burnt our hands in penny stocks. We think of crypto. We think of a lot of other things, right? So it's not an asset market fit for Gen Z's, how I see it.
Great. With that, Naimisha, I think we're at time and I'd like to bring this to a close. This has been a very fascinating and I think one of the more interactive sessions that we've had so far. Thank you so much for taking us through your journey and patiently answering all of the questions. And thanks everyone for coming in and pitching in and coming in with your questions and comments. Thanks very much. I hope you have a great rest of your day and hope to continue the conversation offline.
Thank you so much.